G'day golfers. Ever found yourself redirecting blame and making excuses after having an absolute shocker on a golf course? I know that I have. Range was closed, I was a little cold, didn't warm up, I hit it in those 3 old divots. Then we have the podcast for you. We focus on how to fundamentally own your swing. Strike it pure and consistently shoot in the 70s. Be it if you're a weekend hack, retired and playing daily, a school phenom or a tour professional. We present and discuss facts and physics pertaining to golf, trying to keep our ego and opinion at bay. We dispel myths such as keep your head down, bend your knees, or my all-time favourite, game improvement irons. So stop drinking that mythical Kool-Aid and have a sip of ours. I think you'll find it both inspiring and refreshing. I'm Scott Young, founder of Swing, PGA professional and ex-tour player. And together with physical therapist Dr. Sean Joyce, welcome to Pivot the Path. G'day golfers and good morning and welcome back.
Thanks, Scotty. Glad to be back.
I missed you, dude.
Yeah. It was weird seeing you on the podcast without me last
I know, I was kind of talking to no one. I really sincerely missed you. It's funny, Rosie and I have built this whole business ourselves. Mate, I really missed you. It's so nice to be able to bounce ideas and what do you think of this and what do you think of that and who you're working with. And so, mate, how was it? Quickly, you went down, where'd you go?
Really nice.
Bit of Flow Rider?
Yeah, we're in the Redneck Riviera, as they call it, Destin area.
Yep.
So beautiful beaches, really like white, fine sand, emerald coast, they say.
Nice.
So really like blue, green water. It's beautiful. I didn't realize.
And your fam was there, Miles?
Yeah, family's there.
Play some golf?
We got a little golf in, which was great. But very relaxed overall. It's a very just chill town.
Awesome.
Some funky little...
Well, mate, you give all the time with patience, so it's nice to...
Take a step back and we just relaxed. So it was great.
Good. Marie on the golf course?
No,
Marie? No,
but she's been talking about golf a little bit lately.
All right, we'll get her
so
in here.
I'll get her in here. We need to have you get her started on the right path. But one of these days.
That's very cool. We had a funny moment last night. We got a dear client who owns Hudson Sutler bags. So shout out anyone who needs a golf bag or carry bag or suit bag or travel bag or our backpacks.
Yeah, it's nice stuff.
And we worked on his putting and his eye dominance yesterday. And he's a good player. Jakes off like 2-3 and loves his golf. This guy's a great fella. So again, just shout out, support Hudson Sutler. He's a really good guy. Anyway, we're working on him after the podcast on his putting because you worked on him physically yesterday. And I said, look, let's do a putting lesson. And he holds the putter up high and he's very Jack Nicklaus and wristy. And we talked his eye dominance and it blew, you were saying it blew his mind a little bit. So he's coming in after this podcast and we're going to have part 2 of he aimed on a 6-foot putt, he aimed a foot right. Yeah. On a 14-foot putt, he was further right, but he putts really well.
Yeah, he holds a lot of putts.
And what have we got this morning? We've got 32 degrees. It's still 0.
Yeah.
It's cold.
This is the time of year when I think everyone's itching for spring and you get a few of those days, but we're not there yet.
We're not
we got a ways to go.
It's cold this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 0 degrees.
It's so up by you, when you guys take off, 5 in the morning.
Well, this is weird. So my mum and sister in town, they came into Swing yesterday. They missed you. You were kind of coming in and out.
Okay.
So you'll meet them next couple of days. They're awesome. They were stoked. So they saw Swing and the vision.
Yeah, first time they've actually seen it in person. Huh?
First time any of my young family, not the Covos, but young family has seen it. But they were cold yesterday. So it was colder in the city with the wind.
Okay.
They were frozen.
Yeah, you could feel it.
They walked up Fifth Avenue. Got a bit cold, so shout out Margie and Anna.
Nice.
Big Brother's got to come over and check it out.
Yeah.
From Sydney. News from the fairways. We had a lot going on.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Pretty cool. We have the Valspar was
fascinating.
PGA, pretty
PGA
fun finish.
Tour. How about we start with the LPGA? The Nelly Korda is now number 1.
Back to world number 1. She won again, which
she's a phenomenal talent.
Couple wins in the last few weeks there. Yeah, very smooth.
Actually, we had a playoff. We had a playoff in LPGA. We had a playoff in the DP Tour.
Yeah.
DP Tour, Svensson won. 6'3". He is a big boy.
Yeah, big fella. Then we had Tirdash Affy Barnrat.
So Thailand, that's it. Can you say that again,
Thailand.
dude? It's 6 a.m. in the morning.
I gave it one try. That's all I got.
Awesome. And so they had a tie 17 under. Phenomenal golf.
Yeah.
And he's a big unit.
Yeah, big fella. Fun to watch. I think just got a bit of personality. Since
I just love him. We've got Swedes and we got Thais and I love the DP Tour because it is so diverse, which I just love it. You get this big old, Thai boy, and then you've got a tall Swede who crushes a golf ball. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet. So some fun stuff going on.
And one thing I've learned, and as we all learn about LIV because it's new, the season is actually pretty spotty.
Yeah.
Like you can't, I think Greg's got to rethink the schedule a little bit because he's got this. So back it up a little. Once he signed a lot of the big names, obviously 54 have only got a limited number of holes and a limited field, 54 players. But there's no consistency with Flow as a customer. Like it's on, it's off, so I'd love to see them, if they're serious about this sticking around, it's got to be more consistent.
Yeah.
They haven't played one for what?
Like how we have in the PGA Tour, everyone knows, all right, Masters is coming up in April, and like you look for the big events and they kind of give you some structure to the season and where we are, and LIV just doesn't have that. It hasn't been around long
It's funny,
enough.
PGA Tour's got too many events in our opinion, but LIV doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to watch something.
Meet in the middle somewhere.
They need to meet in the middle somewhere,
But I have no lay of the land of like I remember seeing all the season's done. I think Bryson DeChambeau's team won the overall last year, and I was like, well, when did it start? I mean, I was like, it just seems random.
Yeah, there's no they've got to work on their brand awareness. As a customer, I want to buy into the brand, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of consistency. So PGA Tour have got too many events in our opinion, gets a bit stale. LIV, I want to see some more because I've forgotten who's playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's interesting. And then PGA Tour, we had an awesome story.
Yeah.
So Pete Malnati, he's on the players board.
Yep. I think he's been on PGA Tour like 15 years.
But he's played like we were Googling it this morning on the ride in. He's played 900 rounds on PGA Tour or thereabouts.
That's wild.
And he's only had his second win, 770. And it was so good. I mean, what an awesome man.
Yeah. Really strong finish there. And,
really strong finish.
Poor Cameron Young. I was kind of pulling for him because now after this one with the second place finish, he's had 7 second place finishes on PGA Tour.
Yeah, and a couple of majors. And he's a local lad, obviously. So he grew up at Sleepy, which we played, and a lot of our members are members up there. And his old man just retired as the head pro. And I played with Cam many years ago when I first kind of started getting up and playing up there a little bit. And old man's a great dude.
Yeah.
And Cam's, I don't know him at all, but he's a good guy. Like and I think when he wins, when he gets one, he'll then just.
Yeah, he'll be off to the races.
He'll be off to the races.
He's fun to watch. He bombs the ball, powerful.
Yeah. What were you saying yesterday about his ball speed?
Oh, I found he's just wildly consistent. So I don't know if anyone's watching this, if they keep an eye on him. It's 182, 183 within like 1 or 2 miles per hour every time. Yeah. He
gets his little pause at the dot like Hideki and just
so consistent with the speed.
Strong.
Yeah, and just rips it.
And just absolutely rips it.
So close there.
And he didn't lose it.
No.
Peter won it, which is awesome.
Yeah, birdie on 17. Malnati had
the birdie on 17 that he rolled in was about a 9-footer. That was a phenomenal putt. He's very quirky with his pre-shot routine.
Yeah.
And I just love that he's using a yellow ball and wears a bucket hat.
Yeah, just doing his thing.
I mean, I've got skin cancer because of years on tour that I constantly have to. And everyone out there, go check your local dermatologist. I have this tiny bit of skin cancer that we've got to constantly monitor. So I love that he's wearing a bucket hat. He seems like, and then he broke down in tears because he rolled that 70-second putt to within an inch or two. And he started crying. And I'm like, oh, dude, you're awesome. Like that to me is a story. And I love that he's on the players board. And
pretty cool to stay the course. Keep fighting.
Dad was there. Wife was there.
Yeah, everybody was there. Seems like a real family guy. And, you've got to imagine from his last win till now, 9 years, there's been some ups and downs.
There's been some ups and downs.
Staying the course. And I think he mentioned something interesting, too, from his last win till now. He was just talking about how good everyone's gotten on PGA Tour, and there's so many young, new, good players.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's gotten harder for him to win just based on the level of play. So it's pretty cool that he's still able to pull it out.
Yeah.
Catch lightning in a bottle every once in a while.
And he talked about his caddy never leaving, and they said they've had some dark times. And,
I bet,
and he obviously thanked his wife. He won about $6.5 million career prize money, which when you actually break it down over 12, 13, 14 years, it's not a ton of dough.
Compared to, say, Scotty Scheffler or so, yeah.
And he's away from his family for a lot of it. So when you break down Peter's PGA Tour results, he's never played in the Masters, so he's playing in the Masters.
Yeah, first time he gets
next week or 2 weeks.
Call up, which
That's
is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And he's never played in the FedEx playoff, which he now will.
Mm-hmm.
So, what a journeyman. And I never made main tour, obviously. So I love when the journeyman wins.
Yeah.
And I just come back to that bucket hat and yellow ball.
It's pretty cool.
I love everything about it.
Just doing it his way.
But where we wanted to come today was maybe just talk a little about why he hasn't won. It's technically not that great. We had a look at his swing yesterday, Sean and I, and we don't talk too much because we want this to be pretty open and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But in looking at his golf swing, he gets these really dippy legs, and we wanted to talk about, obviously the podcast is trying to get you guys and girls to understand how you can take ownership of your game.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to talk about a little bit of a visual of why he gets that dippy leg collapse, why that collapse will then hurt his golf swing, and why poor technique, in inverted commas, is not that consistent. So we kind of celebrated what a win and such a remarkable man. But there are a couple of flaws in his swing, and it's not a Rory golf swing. And we wanted to discuss what we think about his golf swing and how it can apply to you so you can own your swing and understand it a little more.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He's definitely one of those guys with a swing that's a little different from the typical setup of, like they say, the modern golfer these days, but the very athletic, powerful players. He's a little different from that.
Yeah.
And a couple of quirky things we noticed, and it's always interesting when someone wins on tour, especially when it's not someone you see all the time. There's always the next day, like 10 people doing a slow-mo swing analysis of, okay, this and that going on. But it's really interesting just to take a look. And from my perspective, it's always, looking at the body. And, the body leaves breadcrumbs. So I think
absolutely.
As we talk about it, we have some suspicions about maybe some stuff going on with the hips there. But that will kind of dictate what you're able to do in your swing. And so he found a way to get it done.
He got it done. Like he gets very armsy and long and hooky and collapsy with his legs. So we thought we'd love to talk to you about how you can learn from someone who's just won a PGA Tour event. Again, so cool. But look at it from a physiological point of view, and you can do this with yourself and fix your own game. So should we get into it? Okay, so let's talk. And now, golfers, this is just a discussion on how you can use last week's success. We're not having a go here. The dude's won a PGA Tour event.
Yeah.
Which last report, you and I haven't.
Not us to judge.
Not us to judge. But
it's interesting to see how his body's moving.
100%.
And I think lessons to be learned from it.
So what we wanted to do is just learn about Pete. But we wanted to explain what we see and why I love what we're doing here is because we do come at this very differently. So from a golf point of view, he collapses his legs. Everyone at swing has these T-square here. And we love the T-square because the brain, in my opinion, can't work out where the chin is relative to ball. And most of my teaching is working backwards. In that, I want everyone to be covering the ball first, divot second, and have forward shaft length, which means the ball starts a little right. We come from the inside and it starts right and draws. So one thing that Peter does is as he collapses, Newton's third law, every action has an opposite reaction. As his legs collapse, his sternum, which is fundamentally where every golfer strikes either the ball or the ground, right? So again, for all our visuals, your lead shoulder, your left shoulder is what we call low point. The club is working down until the left shoulder and where it starts to work up in the circles. We call that the point of tangency. I believe and have proven that the sternum, chin, my zipper in my vest here, my heated vest, which we need today, bloody cold, is where the club first strikes either the ball or the ground. So when Peter collapses his legs, his sternum moves back, effect. Now he's going to hit this big roping hook, and that's probably why it hasn't been consistent. So I see collapse, sternum behind, flips his hands, and he gets his ball flight out of control.
Yeah.
And then you see that as caused by what?
Yeah, so I suspect we got some hip restriction and mobility. Now, we get a couple breadcrumbs to pick up from his setup.
Yeah.
Which a couple things that we noticed, and you brought this up yesterday, was he gets both feet flared out a little bit, it looks like. And there's different videos. It's a little hard to see, on 2D, but usually that's, cause for trying to make up for lack of rotation in the hips.
So I was on tour and I was taught by, one of the world's best, and shout out, to splay both my feet because that's what we always did. Now, no one ever looked at my external rotation, which we're about to get into. But as I'm hitting the golf ball, my right hip is externally rotating, which I have extremely poor external rotation. So by splaying my right foot, that actually exacerbated that problem and nearly ruined my
Yeah, as you go through impact, that's going to be tough
that's what
for
we
that
thought
right
we'd
side.
talk today.
Yeah, and then the other thing that we noticed when you talk about that dip he's got going on, it's almost like at impact or even after, it looks like he just kind of stalls with his rotation this way, and he kind of drops the knees.
The body's got to move somewhere.
There's this hitch going on. So to me, like when I'm looking at that, I'm seeing, okay, it's when he's loaded onto his left side. When he needs to keep rotating, he stops and instead slides more. So I'm thinking left hip internal rotation, restriction going on there.
So why don't we start there? So what is, let's back it up for all our, we got so much feedback, which is cool. What is internal and external? We've covered it before. How would a golfer test it themselves? And then how does it relate to feet? So all we wanted to talk today was about feet. So why don't we start with internal?
We'll start with a really easy way to assess this, even yourself.
Do you want me to be the dummy here?
Yeah. So if you can place yourself somewhere where you're sitting down high enough where your feet are floating in the air, it just takes out the rest of the body so we can look at internal, external rotation. And I'll talk to you how to kind of assess yourself. So it'd be great if you're looking in a mirror so you can see yourself. But since I'm looking at you here, no need. But if we're going to look at your external rotation first, which is where you have more restriction, that's going to be if you're sitting here, if you just kind of pull this left leg back, we're going to look at the right side first. Your foot is going to turn upwards this way towards me. So you can bring it out a little in front of your shin if you can, but you're going to bring that foot up towards the other side. Now, it's important you keep the leg down. But you notice with Scotty there, your shin angle doesn't get too far.
So my bottom part of my bone is rotating inwards, which is putting my hip in external rotation.
And so this is where it gets a little tricky. People think, well, his foot's going inward. Is that internal rotation? Well, it's not actually. Easiest way to exemplify this is we'll just put something in your thigh here. So if you hold that, this is external rotation because when you bring your foot inwards, like we just started, that's going to turn with your thigh to the outside here. So his leg is rotating outwards because his knee is bent, the foot goes inwards.
This is excellent.
So that's external rotation. The leg is rotating externally.
Okay, so quickly with golf, as I hit a golf ball, my right hip is internally rotating on the way back. And then as I hit the golf ball as a right-handed golfer rotating towards the target, my right hip, my trail hip, is externally rotating.
And normal limits of that is about 60 degrees is what we're looking for.
And I'm really tight.
You are quite shy.
15,
now, if we flip it the other way, where you're going to go internal rotation. So for him, right foot going out to the side. And this would then, if it follows the same path, turn inwards.
I love this. This is such an easy way to describe it.
You've got a ton of internal rotation. Now, normal limits, looking for 40 on a good day, especially for men, and you fly past
I've got about 68 degrees of internal
So you're
rotation.
just built to play golf. But what we're seeing with Peter's swing, and this is, again, we're kind of assuming based on what we can see. I would suggest he's probably a little tight internal rotation both sides, but a little more restriction with external on the right, more internal rotation restriction on the left, which is exactly what your hips do in your downswing.
So we see Pete, he's got his feet splayed both. Therefore, because his right foot is, his trail foot is splayed, that allows him more internal rotation, backswing. But as he hits the golf ball, it's just going to stop his external rotation. And if his right hip can't rotate towards the ball, then his left hip can't clear, and that's where we think he gets that little dip.
He's probably found that hitch, and he's like, and I find it fascinating. The brain is really clever, so it's gone, okay, your brain knows what's going on in your body, what it can and can't do for the most part subconsciously, and it will find a workaround. So his brain said, okay, we get a little bit of this drop going on, throw the hands out that way, and you can get the face on this golf ball right here.
And get it done. And so he's going to reduce speed. He's going to fight that big old hook. And again, bringing it back to high and tight, what we're trying to say is before you take your stance, so I played, 96 tour events with both feet splayed out. Now I actually pigeon toe my right foot and my left foot, which I've got 68 degrees here, but I'm greedy. I splay this sucker out because I want more. As your lead foot splays out, it increases internal rotation. But I've got to be careful that as my lead foot splays out, I'm going to reduce how much my lead hip externally rotates. And that's where that thoracic spine can come into it. So
there's a bit of a give and take with your feet. And it's important that you know how much mobility you have available so you can adjust accordingly.
So please don't just listen to the golf pro says splay your feet. Ask why. So we believe test your internal and external, actually physically test it. before you take your stance, and you'll be such a better golfer, right?
And to be fair, this isn't a perfect test.
Yeah, we just...
Now, it gives you a visualization, but there's reasons for this being useful at times and maybe less
We're going
at
to get
others.
clients lying down, and Sean's going to do a lot more...
and you always want to cross-reference, get a couple different ways to look at it. But with this being said, in talking about Peter's swing, it's one of those things where, like, we always talk every day, like, our job is to help people enjoy their golf more. So not to say, okay, Peter, your swing is wrong or anything like that, but learn to understand what's going on with your body. If there's things you don't like in your swing or things that are struggling to help you enjoy your golf, then there's a good reason or good thought behind that your body's maybe holding you back from that a little bit. So if you can figure out where you're at first, make some changes, good chance you get a lot more out of your golf. And
so really take away, check your hips before you take your stance. Beauty golfers, look, thanks for listening. And remember, your on-course enjoyment starts with the work you put into your swing, so you can absolutely own your swing.
See you next week.